There are renewed calls for fracking to be banned after the largest earth tremor so far at Cuadrilla's site in Lancashire. Last night's tremor measured 1.55, forcing operations at Preston New Road to be suspended.
Cuadrilla says that the tremor was so small it was way below the level which would cause any damage. Our reporter Andy Gill is in the village of Westby near the fracking site. Let's go live to him there. And Andy, as we heard in the headlines at the start of the programme a few seconds ago, some people claim that they felt this tremor.
That's right, Roger. Fracking only resumed here a week ago. That was after a gap of 8 months or so. The previous biggest quake here was 1.5. Fracking has to pause on any tremor above 0.5. Cuadrilla say the shale gas well itself is intact, but what worries some people here is that if they feel something at the surface, does that mean that there's bigger activity, possibly more damaging activity happening far beneath them?
The resident anti-fracking protesters record every lorry that goes into Cuadrilla's Preston New Road site. Today was no different. What was different was the tremor recorded here at 8:45 last night. At 1.55 by Cuadrilla's measure and 1.6 by the British Geological Surveys, it's the biggest yet recorded.
People will be frightened and possibly re-engage with the campaign if they've sort of been engaged before, but also it's alerting the wider community to the dangers of fracking.
Chris Holliday lives close to the fracking site. He and his wife were watching TV when they heard and felt the tremor.
My wife and I were relaxing in here last night watching the television, and about 8:45 there was a very loud rumble, and my wife felt a tremor and said, "What's that?" And I said, "I think that was an earthquake."
Cuadrilla likened last night's tremor to a bag of shopping dropping on the floor. Is that a comparison you would accept?
Cuadrilla is seeking to trivialise it by likening it to that. What the real issue is what happens to the well underground where the events are happening.
Cuadrilla suspended activity for the regulation 18 hours. It's currently fracking to get measurements it hopes will persuade the government to raise the level of permitted seismic activity. Earlier this year, the British Geological Survey suggested that the limits on seismic activity at fracking sites should be relaxed because of low risk. Those opposed to fracking say last night's tremor shows that the limits should not be relaxed. Cuadrilla say last night's tremor would not harm people or property.
Now, I understand people might be alarmed by some of the headlines that talk about the largest earthquake yet at Preston New Road. This is an absolutely tiny event, a tremor that's 1/30th of what's allowed on your average building site, so they shouldn't be alarmed, but I appreciate it can cause some distress.
The company plans to restart fracking tomorrow morning.
Well, last night's tremors have led some opponents of fracking, including the Labour Party, to call for it to be banned altogether. The government thinks shale gas could help reduce greenhouse gases and reduce Britain's reliance on imported gas. One thing that worries opponents is that these tremors happened after fracking had finished for the day. They say that if tremors happen during fracking, then the company can stop operations. If tremors happen after fracking has stopped, then no one has any control.
Andy, thank you. Andy Gill there reporting from Preston New Road.